Hey guys, we are so excited about this session. I'm excited because we got one of the fabulous. Actually, I think to me, when I think of luxury real estate coaching, Janie is kind of my first go-to when I think about that kind of stuff. So, guys, I'm excited to have this session up. This session is. I looked in the details of it, and I was like, okay, this is definitely needed. So, Janie, I want to welcome you onto the show, and so excited that you can kind of roll into some of your expertise of what you teach your agents all the time. So, welcome, Janie. Go for it.
Woo! Hey. First of all, thank you, Jeremy, because you are also one of my favorite coaches and trainers on everything tech, everything magic, all the cool stuff. In the background that we as agents have a hard time keeping up with. But anyway, I'm super excited to have you guys here. My name is Janie Coffey. And as Jeremy said, I'm a luxury real estate coach and trainer. I've been at this game for about 20 years. I've been an owner broker. I've been at a couple of the top tier luxury brokerages in training, management, sales, team leadership, all the things. So everything I'm bringing to you is from a combination of personal experience with my own agents that I've managed and trained, and then my team members as well. We have this training the second Wednesday, Eastern Standard Time at 2 o'clock, the second Wednesday of every month, and it's always a topic on luxury, and we give you a 1 hour kind of speed masterclass on a singular topic. We always leave about the last 10 to 15 minutes for questions and answers. So if you have a topic that people haven't been able to answer for you regarding luxury real estate sales, drop it in the comments, because Jeremy and I will think about that for our next coming July, August, September training topics. And then if you have questions as well for the training today, you can drop them in down below as well. And we're going to try to answer those along the way. And then, like I said, at the last 10, 15 minutes, depending on how quickly we get through these slides, I'll be able to answer your questions. But I'm super passionate about this specific topic, and we called it the other luxury. And we called it that because so many people have in their heads what they think luxury real estate is. And 95% of the time, a lot of agents think that's not me. We don't have luxury in my area. Or something like that. And we really wanted to kind of break through those myths and explain what is luxury, how you can find luxury in your area, and how you can tap into that. Before we get started, if you want to share a little bit about where you are in your mind space with what you think luxury is, what is luxury real estate to you? Is it a price point? Is it a location? Is it certain amenities? Is it certain lifestyles? Like, I really want to hear where you guys are right now. And then we'll maybe recap at the end of today's training and see if anything has shifted in how you're thinking.
Janie, real
So
quick on that same topic, guys. If you're watching all live on YouTube, go ahead and drop in the comments. That's where we're going to see it at. So anything you drop in there, we're going to be throwing into our live feed, and so we're going to be able to talk about that near the end of this session. So just make a technical note here that anything you drop in there, we see. So go ahead, just as she asked you a question, go ahead and drop it in. So if you are looking to go that next level in luxury or whatever that next feel is, let us know the topic you want to talk about, and we're going to bring it to you guys. That's what we do every week. So love it, Janie. Go for it.
Yep. And that's right. And we are here to help give training to agents from all different backgrounds, all different levels of experience, whether you're new to real estate in general, but maybe you have a burning desire to be a luxury agent, or you're a seasoned agent and you sold some luxury, but maybe that's not your complete wheelhouse of what you're doing all the time. Or you might be a luxury agent and you want some additional lead gen ideas. You want some team management ideas for luxury teams, because sometimes that's different from average price point teams. We're open to all of it. It's not any one thing, and we're open for everything. Or tech. We've got the tech and AI master with us as well. Okay, so this is what I found in all my years, because like I said, I have 20 years in the game, often in a managerial training type position. So I talk to a lot of agents, and a lot of agents like psych themselves out because one of two things happens in their head. Well, one of three things actually happens in their head. The first is they've seen these shows, $1 Million Agent, all the different real estate focused luxury reality shows. And they think that's all that luxury is. It's the super high end LA, super sleek New York City, super sexy Miami type thing. And they think that's not me. They also often think that it has to be that big giant thing. And they think that maybe they don't come from that background, or they don't have it in their area. That's what they often think a lot as well, especially if they're not in LA, Toronto, or these places where, you know, the $50-100 million properties are frequently seen. They're in some place like where I am. I'm in St. Augustine, Florida. We don't have these. We have very nice properties, don't get me wrong, especially on the ocean, but we don't have these. We have very few, you know, $10-20 million properties, but that's kind of indicative of most of where we sell real estate, most of the US, most of North America, Canada, and even our other friends. So people get psyched out and they think that's not for me. There is luxury in every single market. Every single market, and we're going to break down what that is. What's luxury in Kansas is not going to be the same as what's luxury in Chicago. It's not going to be the same as what's luxury in, you know, Toronto or London or, you know, Orange Beach, Alabama. It's going to be different. So it's very, very, when they talk about real estate as local, it's very specific to your location. And then we're going to talk about what is the starter luxury price point, starter luxury. And if you're not already selling luxury real estate, that starter luxury is a great place to be. And some people, that might be where they want to stay with their average price point. There's a lot of benefits of being in that starter luxury rather than that uber over the top luxury. So let's break it down just to give you guys a little kind of understanding of what luxury is where you are. And I have these two pictures on here because, you know, a lot of people, when they think luxury real estate, they think something super sleek, super sexy, normally oceanfront or, you know, amazing views. This is really nice. This is probably Montana or somewhere like that, maybe North Carolina. That's a super luxury property in that location. This one here on the right. But again, we're even going to break it down further than that. So the Institute of Luxury Home Marketing defines luxury as the top 10% of any given market. So whatever your MLS is, if you go in there, go into your MLS, find out how many properties sold, residential properties sold. You can pick a time frame. You can do 6 months back. You can do 12 months back. Find out how many total sold, and then divide that by 10. So you're going to get the top 10%. So in easy numbers, 10,000 sold in the last 6 months. The top 10% is 1,000. We're going to go into the list view of our MLS, and we're going to sort highest to lowest. And then we're just going to scroll down until we find that price point at about where that 1,000th property is on the list when it's sorted highest to lowest. A lot of people are like, well, my MLS only shows 1,000 or 2,000 or something. It doesn't matter. You don't need them all to come up, because once it's sorted highest to lowest, you can just scroll down and see, or take a shorter time frame, take 3 months or something like that. It's going to give you a good idea. And what people are often really surprised to find is that top 10% is often a lot lower, for lack of a better word, than they might be thinking. So the national average is 755,000 for the top 10%. The national average for sold median sales price across the US is, what is it, 419,000. So you see, there's not a huge disconnect between the median sales price across the country and that starter luxury price point. It's not that big of a gap. It's not going from an average price point of 450 all the way up to, you know, $10 million like that. It's not like that. These numbers actually kind of play out very well where I am. I'm in St. Augustine, Florida. 450-ish is probably our average or our median price point here in our MLS. Around 700,000 to 800,000 is our top 10%. When we get to the top 5%, and that's really where I think more what we would all imagine luxury to be, is really closer to like that top 5%. That in my market is about 1.2 million-ish, somewhere around there. And then the top 1% that I call uber luxury, or like top tier luxury, that's the top 1% of the market in my area here in St. Augustine, Florida, or in Northeast Florida in general, that's going to be around 2.5 million. Those numbers are going to be very, very different if you're in Iowa. It's going to be very different if you're in San Diego, or if you're in Austin, Texas, or if you're in Miami. So you need to look up at least the top 10. But then I would also look up the top 10, the top 5, and the top 1%. So that's starter luxury or near luxury, luxury, and uber luxury. Also, please remember that price is only one factor of what's luxury, meaning you can have a tear down that might be in the top price point. The location maybe is luxury, but the property itself is not. You also could have a very small, say, condo hotel that's maybe not even in the top 10% by price because it's very small, but it is completely luxury as far as what it is. So you also have to look at lifestyle, amenities, things like that. It's not just price point. We're only using price point to give you a gauge and hopefully kind of break your mindset a little bit if you've been freaked out a little bit or thinking we don't have luxury here. Every area has luxury, and it's luxury for your area. And what that might be, that could be golf club homes. It could be gated community homes for that move up. It could be second homes. We're going to talk about how you find that now. So if any of you have time and you can pull up your screen at the same time while we're doing this, I'd love you to drop in the comments like Jeremy said, in the YouTube channel. Drop in what is your top 10% in your MLS. We'd love to hear it. Drop it in, and also where your location is, because people are always so surprised when they find out how low, for lack of a better word, that starter luxury price point is. It's very accessible, right? So a lot of things we also have is we have what we call hidden opportunities. There's less competition. As you go up in price point, there's fewer and fewer agents chasing that business. That's great. In that average price point where most agents hang out and spend their time, it's hyper competitive. It's very, very competitive. But as you go up in price point, there's fewer and fewer agents chasing that. They think it's hard to get. They think the people are difficult. They think it's mysterious. So you have a much better chance to stand out when you're competing, say, against 10 total agents in your market than if you're competing against 100 or 1,000 agents in your market for the same properties. Can't hear you, Jeremy.
Sorry, as a marketing guy, you know, that what you just mentioned to me is kind of like the key, right? To, as a real estate agent, you're thinking, what can we do to get to that next level? And is that next level really, and you say it's less competitive, which you're true. Like, I've looked at the facts and the numbers across the board. Like, if you go into a luxury, let's just say a luxury a neighborhood, for example, right? And you run that list, more than likely it's down to 2 or 3 real estate agents that are selling those particular homes. And if you go into a regular standard neighborhood, a regular price neighborhood, right, mid-range, you're looking at sometimes 14, 16, 20 agents that are selling those. I'm like, it's a no-brainer, right? To take your to the next level and have a less competitive market. Now, look, do you have to take your stuff to the next level? Sure, right? You got to make sure you're elevating as well. But right. I think that's a huge piece for those who are listening today, guys. If you're nervous about going to the next level, don't be nervous about it. Go after it.
Yeah, definitely the competition or other agents you're dealing with, it shrinks. So it just gives you so much more opportunity. The next part about it is the sellers, whether they're at that starter luxury price point or that luxury price point or the uber luxury price point, they have a high demand for premium services. So even if you do bump into other agents that are kind of going after that business, if they haven't worked themselves to elevate their business, elevate their materials, elevate everything, it's going to be like water and oil. It's not going to work for them. But if you bring your materials up, your knowledge up, your presentation up, everything, it's now you're competing against fewer agents and you really are going to stand out. And then I want to talk also a little bit about what would be considered like secondary and tertiary markets. Because again, everybody, I don't know if we have any comments in there, but so many agents are thinking about let me pop over here. Hold on one sec. So many agents are always thinking about those top tier markets that we all think about: Hawaii, LA, California, Chicago, and they're not thinking about the secondary markets, the secondary higher price markets. And maybe you're there or maybe you're close to them. But examples would be, Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado, Portland, Oregon, Minneapolis, Las Vegas, Indianapolis, Dallas, Nashville. Would you necessarily think of those as like luxury markets? You might not. Maybe you do if you live there or you live close by. But every single market has high-end properties, has high-end. I'm not necessarily in my head thinking Indianapolis as the top luxury market, but it has a strong luxury market in Indianapolis for what they have. They have beautiful homes. We have quite a few agents in our brokerage who actually sell luxury in Indianapolis, and they're gorgeous and they're stunning. But people, again, sometimes get up in their head about what isn't available to them, and they don't really realize what is available to them. The next thing is, so we had, like I said, I showed you that picture in the beginning of like a super sleek house, and people were often thinking, oh, that's luxury. But these are also luxury homes. You've got golf homes, lakefront homes, estate type homes, farm and ranch type homes. But this is also what people would probably think of luxury in those secondary markets or whatever markets. But here are some homes that are also in the top 10% of their markets price point wise. I pulled these off today, and do you look at these homes and think, oh, those are luxury? You might not, but that's what my point is. What I'm trying to share today is luxury is accessible to anybody in every market. You just have to find out what it is in your market. Historic homes, lakefront homes. Here's another lakefront or riverfront home, a canal front home. These are in like that starter price point. Golf communities, gated communities, all of those are really, really great opportunities for you to start building your luxury business. And we're also seeing a huge, since COVID, we've started to see a huge kind of strong secondary vacation home or second home markets where people are buying their escape homes, their go-to homes. Those are places, we've always had like Naples, Florida, and other places like that as strong. Key West, Naples, Florida, certain places in Texas as strong kind of vacation homes or second home markets, Cape Cod, things like that. But now we're getting into these secondary vacation markets, second home markets: Cape May, New Jersey, Poconos, Pennsylvania, Bend, Oregon, Flagstaff, Arizona, Asheville, North Carolina, Santa Fe, and the list goes on and on and on. Tennessee is blowing up. The mountains of Georgia is blowing up. Austin is blowing up. Just so thinking about what is in proximity to where you live, where you work, that has higher price point properties that you have access to. So start to give some thought to that. And now Jeremy and I are going to chat a little bit about, like he said, you really have to up your level with your materials so that when you show up, or when you maybe refine your website a little bit, and maybe you're going after them with direct mail or social media, you do need to kind of up level your materials, meaning you've got really nice business cards, you have a good website, you figure out how you're going to market your listings. If you're going after listings, you also have to have an idea of how are you going to market your listings to the higher price point clientele. That's one of the first things every single seller of a higher price listing is asking is, what do you do differently, right? Yeah, Jeremy, I know you've got some great
so I want to preface this a little bit because I just got off a one-on-one call recently with an agent that was trying to get to that next level, right? What we're talking about today. And they were nervous. And I was like, what are you nervous about? They were like, I'm nervous about, spending, more money and how much money I have to spend to do this. And I'm like, look, is it going to cost you a little bit more? Sure, but it's an ROI, right? So maybe you have to put a little bit more in, but we're not going to be talking about putting, $10,000 in off the bat. There is a slow growth to this if you guys want to do that.
No, that's a great point. So I'm glad you brought that up because I actually do hear people say that a lot. People who maybe have come from a background of, let's call it, selling average price point homes where 95% of the time when they list something, it's going to sell. And the only thing they really have to invest is maybe good photography and having a sign installed, or even putting their sign up themselves. You do have to spend more money as you go up in price point. You have more photos often. Often you might have aerial or drone or video, but all you do is you bake that. And every one of you should have a business plan. You should be working from a business plan where the business plan starts from, I want to net X after my brokerage commission, after my expenses, based on X percentage of my listings sell, based on X amount of my listing appointments turn into listings, based on how many listings do I need to go on in a calendar year to get that. So all you do is you just have to change the math and all of that to understand, yes, a luxury listing is going to cost you a little bit more. You need to be investing a little bit in your luxury listings. You might get away with just under $1,000 depending on what market you are in to do it, up to, could be several $1,000s if you're selling, super high end. But if we're talking the $700 to $2 million, you might be able to be all in under $1,000 with good photography, video, drone. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Honestly, that's really the key I was looking at. I just got, I actually went out on, which I haven't done in a while, went out on a listing appointment with an agent to kind of just see how they do things with their photographer and stuff like that. Cause I used to do drones and all that fun stuff. And so I told the photographer, which is one they use regularly. Okay. So most of us as agents, we have a regular photographer, right? And so a conversation I had with, it was a higher end listing, especially in this area. It was like a 1.3, 1.4. And I told the photographer, I said, hey, what if you took this and I want you to, if you could just elevate it. All right. So do your normal listing stuff, but I want you to take this one to the next level. What extra would that cost us? And he came back with like $150 extra. And I was blown away with what the photography looked like on what he was doing to elevate it. And so a lot of these photographers, they have the skills, right? They have the know-how. And a lot of times as agents, we have to challenge them a little bit and say, hey, do me a favor and take this one to whatever you can do. Take this to the next level. I'm going to move my elements to reach out more luxury listings. I want to reach out more luxury sellers. And I want to bring you along with me as my photographer and challenge them. And it was fun. So now every time we do another luxury listing with the same photographer, he's like, can I do it? Can I? And it's fun. And so just know, guys, challenge those vendors to help you get to that next level.
Absolutely. And, so for the purposes of the conversation of today, where we're talking the other luxury, more that luxury in, say, middle America or middle North America, average price point, but maybe up to starter luxury, we're not talking about tens of thousands of dollars of marketing budget. You definitely need those when you're in LA, Chicago, things like that. That's a whole different conversation. But when you're selling in this other luxury market, where, like Jeremy said, it was 1.3, and that's high for his area there in Kentucky. You're talking about great photos, aerials, drones, videos, a good sign, nice professionally printed brochures, maybe a broker's open house if that's done in your area, maybe a print ad if you're done in that area. You're not talking a huge investment, and it's something. And luxury listing distribution. The one thing you definitely need is luxury listing distribution, meaning you're going in sites besides just the MLS, Zillow, Realtor, and Redfin. You need to be in those higher end publications like Wall Street Journal, Robb Report, things like that. We here at EXP, that's where we are. We have a luxury division that includes all of that. Other brokerages, quite a few other brokerages have solutions to that. There's other solutions that you can get into if you're at a boutique brokerage or something like that, but you do need to have that luxury listing distribution. But again, you're not talking about bank breaking sums, especially at this other marketing price point. And other than the media, some of these things, especially broker open houses or print ads, you can space those out, once a month, do something special. So you're always still planning something marketing wise.
I think the point you made about the listing distribution is massive in terms of if you are just putting your listing on the MLS, which 98% of agents do that, right? They just put the listing on the MLS. And so what these next level sellers, they expect or they want, let me put it that way, they want, right? You to have Wall Street Journal, to have your listing in Mansions Global if it fits, to have your listing in these top luxury presentation places. One, because it's clout for you. You want that, right? But also it's clout for that listing. And it gets that listing that exposure, right? That Zillow can't even provide. And that's what I love, is that it's putting it out there, in places that are extra, right? And so as a luxury listing agent, the one you want to become, what if you just added one extra portal? Like I know EXP, obviously you put it up and it goes to all those places, which is amazing. And then, there's other brokerages, you have to individually add it, right, onto the platforms. And it's worth the extra effort. Let me just say that. It is totally worth it.
It's totally worth it, especially if you're competing against other agents from wherever. Most people are selling luxury or going to have access to luxury listing distribution. I want to answer something in the chat real fast that I missed. Somebody, Real Estate News Now, said that in Santa Ynez, and I don't know where Santa Ynez is, the top 10% is $5.9 million. That's really, really high. So that must be a super pricey location. Maybe Jeremy, you can look that location up while I'm chatting, but that is really, really high. The next thing, so Penny said in Davie, Florida, the top 10% is 1.9. That makes sense. 2.3 is the top 5%, and 3.6 is the top 1%. So Davie, Florida is in Southeast Florida. It's kind of in the larger Miami, Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale area. So those numbers make sense. Linda's in Santa Maria Island. Let's see. Keep trying to I'll answer some of these when we get to the Q&A. Oh, Santa Barbara. So maybe that is in Santa Barbara. Thanks. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So it is a lot higher. California has like wacky numbers. Like you guys really have impressive numbers even at that top 10% price point. So let me drop back into this.
Yeah, I just put in. Sorry, Janie. I just pulled up that Santa Ynez, and I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I can see it. I'm like, this is California living right there.
Yeah. The Real Estate News Now said we are wacky. Yeah, that is wacky. But what a great place to be. But so what I just want to step back for a second when we were talking about how it's so much easier to stand out. I know agents in smaller markets. Like we have an agent in our brokerage. She's in Texarkana. And they're just killing it. They have so much of the business because so few other agents in these kind of smaller other markets are chasing luxury that it is so much easier to excel and just sweep the market clean when you're in these sometimes smaller markets or these, lesser known markets. So really look at where you might have been beating yourself up thinking, I'm not in Santa Ynez, California, and I don't have $5.9 million listings in our area, but maybe you're in an area where there's a bunch of 800,000 or $1 million or $1.2 million listings, and there's very few agents chasing them. Like really look at that. I really truly believe the agents who excel in luxury in some of these secondary, tertiary, or I don't even know what fourth-tier markets are, have so much of a huge opportunity to stand out. But like Jeremy's saying, you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your knowledge. You have to invest in your marketing, just how everything looks and feels from the materials, your signs, your website. But the other thing is, every time you have a photo shoot, you are creating an amazing portfolio of photos that you can use for years to come in social media, in your listing presentations, in your website. You're building your own like Getty images of gorgeous images that you can use for all these purposes. Whereas, you know, if you just have a 2-3 brick ranch, once you photograph that house and sold it, you're normally not going to reuse those photos because, you know, they're just not like super eye candy. Maybe they are for you, but, you know, but if you're photographing these really stellar properties because you're going up in price point, you're creating a whole kind of archive or library of an amazing imagery and materials that you can use for yourself. So ask yourself, would a luxury seller choose you right now based on your online presence? Like, take a look at your online presence and imagine you get a call tomorrow to go on a top 10% or a top 5% listing presentation. And imagine you had all the skills you needed, but would your online presence equal what they would probably be expecting? And if not, how can you get yourself there? It's probably not that big of a jump. But again, polished aesthetics. Polished doesn't necessarily mean super fancy or super swirls and all this thing. It's often very clean and smooth. Kind of figure out in your area what is luxury. What's the aesthetic in your area for luxury? Is it quiet luxury? Is it that farm and ranch vibe? Is it super sleek and bold luxury? Like, what is that vibe? What is that aesthetic for luxury in that area? And if you already have a team or you already have a good brand recognition, you can just create a luxury division for yourself or a luxury division for your team. You don't have to create a whole separate brand. Let me get some more of these questions here. Northern California, including some secondary and tertiary markets, 2.49 is the top 10%. That makes sense. Linda Moore, highest priced home in Sarasota right now is 35 million. The highest priced home in Santa Maria Island currently is listed at 20 million. That's fairly similar to what I have here in St. Augustine, Florida, or at least Northeast Florida, because we have Ponte Vedra, Florida too, which is our high end market. Montgomery, Texas, 1.5 is the top 10%, 1.9 is the top 5%, and 3.1 is the top 1%. Linda said, does EXP have a business plan model to copy and follow? Liliana, if you haven't checked out the luxury division at EXP, I think you have, but we have tons and tons of training in there. We've had business training in there, business model training. We have tons of training in there. So check that out if you haven't yet already. So luxury is local. So this is a picture of a listing that I sold last year. It is luxury for our area, but it's kind of that top 5%. It's definitely not the top 1%, but it is a nice, beautiful home, concrete home with a roof deck, beautiful views in the background, right on our waterway, and right behind that is the ocean. So we have beautiful views of that. But it's really, what is luxury in your area? Like, give some thought. Is that, golfing? Is that some lifestyles around where you are? Maybe that's lakefront living. Maybe that's urban living. Maybe that's gated communities. Like, what is luxury in your area? And then maybe think a little, this is my other tip, is if you are in a more dense area, like if you are in the city or in the suburbs, think about what is an hour outside of that, because often there are some enclaves an hour or an hour and a half outside these larger areas that have very nice real estate, but nobody's really serving those areas. It's a little more driving, but if you start to do the math, it can really, really make sense, because nobody is really going after those areas, or the choices they have are people who generally only sell bread and butter priced. My puppy is going crazy. Sorry. My arm is going to be all chewed up by the time this is over. So I want you guys to think about elevating your perception in your community, in what you put out. If you're on social media, if you're on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or LinkedIn, just start elevating that up a little bit. Create a brand. If you're using Canva, create a brand kit. so that you can easily have a little bit of elevation in your fonts, in your colors and things like that. Start to figure out what look, what aesthetic is that higher end. Maybe you have higher end bloggers or influencers or magazines in your area. Look through there and kind of figure out what is that aesthetic that's speaking to people in your area. The other thing I like, so become the agent trusted with important assets. One way you can really do that too is start to put out really great market reports. Every month, put out a really great market report that really explains this is where the market is right now, what that means to buyers and what that means to sellers, and break it down, so you start to be seen as the trusted advisor. The other thing I love about going up in price point, it leads to so many more referrals, because just like I said, there's less competition at the high price points. The sellers and buyers are often asking their friends for recommendations a lot more, because they don't have every person that they go to school with also has a real estate license, or their kids go to school with. So they're often asking around. So it leads to, so just as an example, this property here, I'm trying to think the whole string back. I listed a property in downtown St. Augustine that was starter luxury. Somebody was attending a party across the street from that property and said they had something to sell that was definitely a luxury home in downtown St. Augustine. So they ended up calling me. They didn't interview anybody else. I ended up selling a property for them. Somebody down the street from that same house had an expired listing and saw that I had sold that. They called me up and I sold for them. Then they had a second house. I sold that for them. They had another friend with the highest priced property ever sold in downtown St. Augustine, Florida, that I sold for them. Those two couples then referred me the couple for this house. I sold for them. And then right behind here is a home that's on the water that's right now listed for $3.6 million, which is in our top 1/2 of 1% that I have listed right now. So I don't recall how many houses that was. I think 7, where I didn't go on any, I was not competing at the listing appointment with any other agent for any of them, because it all strung through referrals from friends who said, you need to talk to Janie, this is her thing. Because people at the higher price points really look to their peers for recommendations a whole lot. They're really looking for that.
So let's recap that just saying, because that's exciting to me as a marketing guy. So, because less, like, you didn't have like 40 listings on the market at the time and everybody was seeing Janie's name everywhere. It came from.
And I didn't even sell the first one. The first one she ended up renting. The first one she rented and took it off the market.
So think about that for a minute, guys. Like, literally, she had one, right? And then because of the connection she made through that one listing, it spiraled, right? You got another one, got another one, got another one. That's when the power of luxury real estate really starts kicking in. Is these they talk, they know each other, they talk. And honestly, in my opinion, I've coached agents all over and often different price points, stuff like that. And what I love is the luxury real estate agents, they seem to get to that referral status higher than, or faster than the standard listings do. And I've seen it for years, is that 100%. Once you start getting those luxury listings in your pockets, it just referral after referral after referral starts coming in, because, and I don't know what the philosophy behind it is, but it just seems to be they talk more and they share when things do really, really well for them.
Well, it's specifically because at the average price point, there's a lot of agents who are licensed at the average price point, right? Even if they're not full-time agents, they know them from the PTA, they know them from golf, they know them from work.
Yep.
They're their neighbor. Everybody knows an agent at the average price point. So they don't need to ask around. But as you go up, fewer and fewer agents are selling those higher price points, and they're certainly not selling them, well. Meaning there are sometimes, people list them, but that's not their thing, and they don't sell. So as they go up, they need to ask around because they don't know somebody selling at maybe they know somebody at the tennis club that has a license, but they realize they need a professional, not just a licensee. And that's why. And trust. And the funny thing is, Jeremy, back to the importance of great photography, that original listing that I didn't sell was a 2-bed, 2-bath bungalow that was not a luxury price point, but I treat everything equally, meaning I did great photos for it. I did a great brochure for it. I did great marketing for it. And she was so impressed that when somebody else asked for a recommendation, and she didn't even know that person, they were just at a party, she referred them. And then, like I said, it just snowballed. And that happens all the time.
Yeah, I tell you, it's going that same concept. I don't know if we're talking about this today or not, but if you look on, for example, I have an agent that literally got 40% of his deals from Instagram last year. And I'm kind of skeptical when people tell me that kind of stuff. So I actually asked him, hey, tell me exactly kind of where you got your, and honestly, he shifted and started doing higher end photography, higher end posts, like luxury type posts on his Instagram feed. And he said that little shift was his game changer for him. And I'm like, really? And then I went back and looked at when he started making that shift. Like I went back to his old posts and started looking. And then it literally lines up to what he's telling me in terms of the amount of deals, a higher price point he got. I'm like, all right, never mind. You're right. It worked. And I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And just how you treat things. I learned this a long time ago when I was at a Sotheby's brokerage. I was an executive vice president, and I had a fellow executive vice president where we kind of tag teamed everything. And he always used the term, they're all diamonds. And what he meant by that was, if you go into Tiffany's, the store, and they have a little teeny weeny diamond, and then they have a big giant diamond with like a huge price difference, they still treat them equally, meaning how they deal with you as a customer at the counter, how they wrap everything up, how they bring the bag around the counter to give to you when you buy something. They're all diamonds. They're all treated the same. So when you start to treat your own listings as well as possible, that's also going to help bring you up. I've had multiple students say to me, oh, well, what if the listing doesn't sell? Like they're not wanting to invest in the marketing because they're like, well, what if it doesn't sell? They don't all sell at the higher price points. That's why I said you have to do the math. And maybe that's what you were referring to, Liliana, was the math, which I get from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent from Gary Keller, which we can do a whole training on that if you like. You just have to calculate, you need more listing appointments because you need a few more listings because a few more are not going to sell. And then it all still works out in the math. So you don't have to worry about it. You're like, if one of my listings expires or something and doesn't sell, I'm not happy about it, but I'm not devastated about it too, because it's all calculated into my math of my business plan. You have to invest in good photography. Like that is number one. If you looked up this listing, hold on, pull that one back up for 1 second, Jeremy. Yep. If you saw this listing when it was listed by the previous agent before me, you would not even think it was the same exact house. They just did a daytime from the ground, straight up at it, boring image.
Yep.
We invest our time and our money and our effort to get the most knockout imagery we possibly can. This is a real Twilight photo. It's not a fivered up, right. Thing. We went there. We did our daytime photos, our stills, but then we went back at twilight. We have all the lights on. That takes a lot of work, believe me, to do 4 stories of lights. Every single light on. And then this is an aerial photo. So the drone had to go up, and we got stills for twilight as well. But that's a really great image. It looks.
And honestly, Janie, the way I look at this thing is, look, this is the one you said it didn't sell, right? So the way
no, this one did sell. This one did. Yeah.
What I'm thinking, okay, I take this image, and it's not just for the listing, right? You paid for this image. This image should be in all your presentation. It should be in your showcase.
Absolutely.
And so you're not just investing at one time. I have agents all the time telling me, Jeremy, I just don't want to pay that much, for one time. Like, What are you talking about? You're not paying for it one time. You're paying this forever. That's why, you know, I always tell agents, pay them the extra $100 at the end of the session, the end of the photo session, to get photos of you around the property, you in the home, because that's future marketing there.
Right.
And so it's a no brainer. By the way, this is I've seen a lot of nice photos. This one's, I love it. It's just classic.
Yeah, we go really, and we have 3 different vendors we work with. We have our stills for the day.
Yep.
We have our videographer, and then we have our drone photographer. Yep. So we're always working with 3 different ones. Every one of my listing presentations, every one of my training things, when there's images in it, especially if it's mine, like when I'm going on a listing presentation, those are all my past listings. Because like I said, I've built up this archive, this library. I'm not using stock photos. I'm not using AI generated photos. These are real listing photos. So the point of all of this, what we're talking about today, is you don't have to be in a market that has all these $10 million, $20 million, $50 million listings. Find what luxury is in your area. Whatever that is, maybe that's 600,000, but that's luxury in your area, right? You might have to, you know, find who's the great photographers in your area, or help them, like Jeremy said, help the photographers come up as well. When I first moved to my area 10 years ago, nobody was doing really great videography, but I came from Miami where I was used to that. So I had to find a videographer and work with him. I'm still using him to this day, 10 years later, because we grew up together. His skills improved, my things improved. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, stories like that's what gets me excited, is, you know, you're building this partnership that as you move up, they move up. And obviously that's what we want. And so if you don't have like that a go-to person in your market, let's go after them, find them, and then say, hey, I'm in it for the partnership. So tell them, hey, I want to move up. And this is if you want to help me do that, I will help you as well. And so I think that's a great topic. I know there's a couple questions that did come in, Jane. I want to make sure we grab them before we hop off.
Yeah, we're almost done, but I'll get them.
Oh, cool.
I wanted to say too, when I came here, because again, I came from Miami, hyper competitive market. I think there's like 30,000, 40,000 licensed agents in South Florida, something wacky. And when I moved here 8 years ago, nothing was quite on par with what I was used to in Miami. The photography was not, the videography was not. And I could have just picked any old photographer, but I didn't. I went through the MLS and I found which listings had amazing photos, which was very few. I didn't know those agents, so I couldn't ask them who's their photographer. So I just Googled those addresses until I found who it was. And it was somebody from about an hour away. And I still use them too for my stills, 10 years later. So you do have to do a little legwork, but these are the things that are going to make you stand out. These are the things that are going to make you a category of one. So lean into this. It doesn't take that much to really make you shine as like a huge gap where you have no competition. So some takeaways are: luxury exists in every single market. It's going to be different. So maybe you guys can look up. Somebody in here said luxury was, I think, 8 million. Yeah, Linda Moore said the top 10% is 8.5 where they are, which is kind of crazy. It's about experience, not just price. So as you go up in price point with the buy side, with the sell side, you have to up level your experience that you're giving buyers and sellers. You need to elevate your branding. You need to elevate the vendors you're working with. And all of this it's a process. It's not, from 1 minute to the next, but it's something to be thinking about. And you need to really, you can own your luxury market. You can own your local luxury market. Understand the stats, dig into the MLS, go to broker open houses or caravans or things like that. Deliver a 5-star experience in a 4-star town. I love that quote. And watch your brand grow. Before we wrap up and get to the questions, just put in the chat, in whatever, a thumbs up, a heart, whatever, if you have a different view of luxury now from where we started, like from just even an hour ago, about what's possible for you, what's in your backyard, what kind of other kind of markets you might not have been considering, because that's kind of what I'd like to know, is this training is having some impact. I'm going to finish up these slides and then jump to the question. So what you can do, start today, most of you did identify what the top 10%, the top 5%, and the top 1% of your market is. But if you haven't done that already, definitely do that. Work on upgrading your marketing, work on upgrading your market knowledge so you can set up a hot sheet and just little by little, day by day, look at, what is luxury in your area. What are they talking about? What amenities are they talking about? What lifestyle things are they talking about? And create your own luxury listing experience. So luxury isn't somewhere else, it's right where you are. That's the main thing I wanted to say today, because so many people are like, well, we don't have luxury where I am. It might be $450,000. I don't know, but you've got to look at your specific market. That's the most important thing. So let me give you the last slide and then jump to the question. So my name again, Janie Coffey. You can get in touch with me or follow me at Janie C. on Instagram. And let me see here. So I did want to go back to Liliana. She asked, would you recommend a software with custom home price suggestions to do a CMA? I don't know of a software that's going to do really well at the higher price points because the properties are so different. But we did do a training in this mastermind last month or 2 months, I think 2 months ago. So if you go to the YouTube channel, which I think is an Elevate in Luxury Real Estate. Yeah, we have a whole training on pricing, both pricing when you get the listing and helping to get price reductions if they're needed. Okay. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Linda, for that comment. Yeah, we really work hard to get great photos because that evokes an emotion. At the average price point where the homes are all often similar or, from communities where everything is similar, a lot of times people are making decisions based on price or price alone, and they're seeing those homes as a commodity. As you go up in price point, a lot of times they might be second homes, they're lifestyle purchases, and you've got to evoke an emotion. It becomes very important for your photography, not just to show a product like out of a catalog, but to evoke an emotion. And that's kind of the different. You're talking editorial style photography rather than just description kind of photography.
The question I saw here too was, what do you recommend for printing materials? I know, Janie, you probably use different companies throughout the years. But like, I know one great one I know a lot of luxury photographer, a lot luxury real estate agents use is called 4Over. It's a great online printing company, but always select the higher premium materials, right? Don't just go with the basic stuff.
Yeah. I use Express Stocks. And I believe we're at EXP, and I think the person who asked that question might also be at EXP. I think we are working on getting some preferential pricing from Express Stocks or something like that. I know that a lot of brokerages use Express Stocks, and I've always been happy. But definitely invest in good quality paper, nice finish. I am not a fan of shiny finish. It doesn't look luxury to me at all. So I normally get the matte or even the soft touch, which feels like, velvet.
So this one says, does anyone use real marketing? I know there's lots of luxury agents that I know that we coach all the time. They use real marketing for a lot of their marketing material, like their postcards going out, that kind of stuff. If so, how much?
I've heard only good things about
me too.
Real marketing. And they have, and it says, can you edit the information that is used? They have two options. They have like a set it and forget it version. And then they have a separate version where every single month can be completely customized. So if you get with them, I think Dakota is the main guy's name. They will walk you through those things. Cloud CMA.
Yep.
I don't ever I'll use a CMA software for the presentation of my pricing suggestions, but I do my own pricing CMA, if that makes sense. Like I use the software, but I don't rely on the automated pricing they come with, because it's hard as you go up in price point, because there's often not enough comps unless you're just in a huge homogenous community that's all high priced, and then there might be enough comps. But generally speaking, as you go up, they're all so different from another that you might need to do your own. So I can't comment on cloud
Now you
staging.
can, like, I mean, you can do, like, for example, you can use, I know, Bold Trail, KB Core, they've got their own core, it's called Core Present. It's great for the layouts, but you may have to do a little more back behind the scenes work, you know, to make those look like you want them to look.
Right.
Same thing with Cloud CMA, right? It's a good format, which don't get me wrong, sometimes it's easier to go with the formatted stuff that looks nice than you have to create your own. But you may have to do a little bit more lead work when it comes to, you know, getting those right comps in there inside of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Liliana, it's Express Docs. So Express Docs, DOCS for the printing solution. So I do that for our printing for like postcards and things like that, but I use a local printer for our brochures and our things like, you know, our smaller runs. I just use our local. I love them. They do a great job. The pricing is really great. So
yeah, I think honestly, everybody should have a local printer that you partner with on it and say, hey, if I need 5 or I need 20 or I need whatever, a lower quantity that you can get online, you know, it's a lot easier to send them a PDF and say, hey, can you knock this out for me? And a lot of times they're a lot faster on the turnaround than 3 to 5 business days is normal online stuff. So it's always good for those quick turnaround presentations to have somebody you can go, hey, can you print this? And they'll usually do a pretty good job.
We have time for maybe one more question.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Real Estate Now said they love their local printer. Absolutely.
So here's, I mean, coming some, I mean, you had lots of action items at the end of this, guys. And so hopefully, you know, when you attend workshops like this, you at least wrote down one action item, right? Because that's we have to implement. And so maybe it is researching your market area to find what that next level is for you, or find out that other luxury you may not have thought was luxury. Like for me, for years, I was thinking like, you know, I'm in Kentucky, so I got lots of horse properties around me. I mean, I drive past 3 every day, and you know, I think, is that luxury? But it is. It really is, depending on what you have, right? Maybe it's the older homes and they may not have the luxury price point, but they definitely are luxury. And so think through what's in your market that could separate yourself from you and these other agents, that you focus on these particular units, right? There's plenty out there still, and not every agent in your marketplace is doing this stuff. So
definitely. So
all right.
Give us a thumbs up. I just want to know, did anything shift or change in you about what you thought was either available to you or near you, or opportunities for you? Because I'd love to hear if something kind of opened up or changed what you were thinking.
I love it. All right, guys, we'll still wait for comments to come in. We'll watch the video comments as you guys roll in if you want to keep going. We're going to go ahead and start working on closing this session out. But Janie, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, sharing your expertise with agents across the world. And we really appreciate it. And so next, I don't know what the next session is, but Janie will be back the second week of July.
Second Wednesday.
Second Wednesday of July. And then we'll also have a lesson or a luxury leaders and legends session in 2 weeks, really interviewing another top luxury agent. So guys, thank you guys so much. Love this. Samantha, these trainings, the second Wednesday and the fourth Wednesday of every month are available to the public. So you guys can go on the YouTube channel and you can share this out with other agents. And then the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday are private. So appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys have a great rest of your day, and be blessed. See y'all.